Millionaire Daniel Morrison sat at Manhattan's most exclusive bar when the waitress served him a $3,000 whiskey with a folded note. He opened it casually and read, "Don't drink it. Smile and leave now." His heart stopped. He looked up at the girl watching him with terrified but determined eyes. Then 3 men in black suits entered, looking directly at him. The waitress whispered without turning, "If you don't let me go and don't leave immediately, in 2 minutes you'll be dead. They've poisoned your glass. I'm the only person in here who doesn't want to kill you." Daniel's blood froze. Who was this girl? How did she know? His business rival James Carter had sworn revenge after Daniel stole an $80 million deal. Now Carter's men were here to finish him with poison. The waitress was Sarah Collins, sister of a man Carter murdered and made look like suicide. She'd spent 8 months infiltrating Carter's world, gathering evidence, waiting for justice. But saving Daniel's life was just the beginning. What neither of them knew. They were walking into Carter's perfect trap, a setup so elaborate it would destroy them both. Unless Sarah's desperate final move changed everything. What city are you watching this video from and what time is it? By the way, if you're enjoying my videos, I'd be so happy if you could subscribe to my channel and like this video. Manhattan, The Elegance Bar, 11:45 p.m., Millionaire. Daniel Morrison was sitting at the bar of New York City's most exclusive establishment when the waitress served him a $3,000 whiskey accompanied by a folded note. He opened it, distractedly, and read, "Don't drink it. Smile and leave now." His heart stopped. He raised his gaze toward the girl who watched him with terrified but determined eyes. When she turned to leave, Daniel grabbed her wrist. At that moment, 3 men in black suits entered the establishment, looking directly toward him. The waitress whispered without turning, "If you don't let me go and don't leave immediately, in 2 minutes you'll be dead. They've poisoned your glass. I'm the only person in here who doesn't want to kill you." Daniel felt his blood freeze. Who was this girl? How did she know? And above all, who wanted to kill him and why? Daniel Morrison was 42 years old, with an estimated net worth of $180 million. CEO of Morrison Holdings, the most powerful real estate investment company in America, he was a man accustomed to absolute control. Every decision, every movement, every breath was calculated. He left nothing to chance, and he certainly didn't trust anyone. That night he had chosen the Elegance Bar for his weekly meeting with partners. An exclusive establishment in the heart of Manhattan, frequented only by businessmen, politicians, and people who could afford a $500 cocktail. Discreet but present security, select clientele, staff trained in silence. The perfect place to discuss $100 million deals without being disturbed. The meeting had ended 20 minutes earlier. His 3 partners had left, leaving him alone at the bar. Daniel had ordered a Macallan 1926, one of the rarest and most expensive whiskeys in the world. $3,000 for a glass, not for the taste but for the principle. He was the type of man who ordered the most expensive whiskey, not because he liked it, but because he could afford it. The waitress who served it to him was young, perhaps 25 years old. Dark hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail, impeccable uniform, precise and elegant movements. Daniel hadn't paid attention to her before. The staff, for him, was invisible, functional, interchangeable. But when she placed the glass in front of him, she also left a folded note. He looked at it distractedly, then opened it. The handwritten words in nervous handwriting hit him like a punch. "Don't drink it. Smile and leave now." Daniel raised his gaze abruptly. The waitress was staring at him fixedly, with an expression that mixed terror and determination. Her eyes said, "Believe me, please believe me." Then she turned and began to clean a glass with slightly trembling hands. Daniel's first instinct was to laugh. A stupid joke, a clumsy attempt to get his attention, but something in the way she had written those words, in the desperation in her eyes, stopped him. He looked at the glass of golden whiskey that gleamed under the bar's dim lights. Perfect, innocent, deadly. Then he saw them. 3 men in black suits had just entered the establishment. They walked with the confidence of those who know exactly where they're going, and they were looking directly at him. Daniel recognized them immediately. They were James Carter's men, his biggest competitor in real estate, a ruthless man who didn't hesitate to use illegal methods to get what he wanted. Daniel's blood froze. 6 months earlier, he had snatched from Carter an $80 million deal, buying an entire neighborhood that Carter had wanted for years. A devastating blow that had made his stocks crash. Carter had publicly sworn revenge, but Daniel had thought it was just theater. The impotent rage of someone who had lost. Now, watching those men advance slowly toward him, he understood he had been wrong. Carter wasn't bluffing. And these men were there to finish the job. Without thinking, Daniel extended his hand and grabbed the waitress's wrist as she passed near him. She startled, looked at him with wide eyes. Daniel whispered loud enough for only her to hear. "Who are you?" The girl spoke without moving her lips, pretending to smile, as if she were chatting normally with a customer. "Someone who made a huge mistake and is trying to fix it." Let go of my wrist, smile, raise the glass as if to toast, then leave it and go toward the bathroom. "There's a back exit. Leave now." "Why should I trust you?" Daniel whispered. "Because I'm the only person in this bar who isn't trying to kill you." Daniel looked again at the men. They were 30 feet away. One of them had his hand inside his jacket. The girl was right. If he stayed there, he would die. He made a decision in a split second. He released the waitress's wrist, smiled, raised the glass as if for a silent toast, then left it and stood up heading toward the bathrooms with a calm step. He walked without running, without looking back, feeling the men's eyes on him. He entered the bathroom hallway, saw the emergency door with the emergency exit sign, pushed it, and came out into a dark alley. The cold night air hit him like a slap. He was alive, for now. He turned toward the door just in time to see the waitress come running out behind him. She stopped panting, eyes full of fear. "Run," she said in a broken voice. "Run and don't stop until you're somewhere safe." "Who are you?" Daniel asked again. "My name is Sarah Collins, and I just saved the life of a man who will probably hate me when he discovers the truth." "What truth?" But Sarah turned and ran in the opposite direction, disappearing into the shadow before Daniel could stop her. He remained alone in the alley with a million questions and one certainty. His life had just changed forever. Daniel didn't return home that night. He went to an anonymous hotel near Penn Station. He paid in cash. He used a false name. In the darkness of the sterile room, he tried to piece things together. Someone had tried to poison him. Carter's men were there to make sure he died, and an unknown waitress had saved him, probably risking her own life. Who was Sarah Collins? Why had she helped him? How did she know about the poison? The questions spun in his mind without answers. At dawn, he called his security chief, Marcus Thompson, a former cop who had worked for him for 10 years. "Marcus, I need you to find everything about a person. Sarah Collins. She works at the Elegance Bar. I want to know every detail of her life. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Everything. Has something happened, boss? Someone tried to kill me, and she saved me. I want to know why." 2 days later, Marcus delivered a complete file. Daniel read it in silence in his office on the 50th floor of Morrison Tower, his gaze becoming more somber with each page. Sarah Collins, 26 years old, born in Philadelphia, moved to New York 3 years ago. Waitress at the Elegance for 8 months. Before that, no registered employment. Before that, an information void. But the interesting part was something else. Her older brother, Michael Collins, had worked for James Carter until 2 years ago. Then he had died in what was officially registered as suicide. But Marcus had dug deeper. Michael Collins had been Carter's personal accountant. He had access to all accounts, to all dirty business. And 3 weeks before his death, he had contacted the IRS, saying he had evidence of money laundering, corruption, and extortion. Before he could deliver the evidence, he had fallen from the 6th floor of his apartment. Daniel's heart stopped. Sarah wasn't a casual waitress. She was the sister of a man Carter had murdered, and somehow she had gotten a job at the bar where Carter and his associates met. Revenge, justice, or something more? Daniel made a decision. He had to talk to her. That night, Daniel returned to the Elegance Bar for the first time after the incident. The place was full as always. Background jazz music, wealthy clients who laughed and signed million-dollar contracts between cocktail and cocktail. Sarah was behind the bar. When she saw him enter, the blood drained from her face. She stiffened, hands trembling slightly while cleaning a glass. Daniel sat at the bar in exactly the same place as 2 nights before. Their eyes met. "We need to talk," said Daniel in a low voice. "Not here. Not now. It's not safe," Sarah whispered without looking at him. "Then when?" "Where?" She hesitated, then quickly wrote something on a napkin and slid it toward him. "An address, a time, 3 a.m. Come alone. If you bring someone, you'll never see me again." Daniel nodded, stood up, and left without ordering anything. At 3 a.m., he was at the indicated address, an old abandoned warehouse on the industrial outskirts of Manhattan. It smelled of humidity and abandonment. Sarah was already there, a small figure in the shadow illuminated only by the moon filtering through broken windows. "Why did you save me?" Daniel asked without preamble. "Because I didn't want another innocent man to die because of James Carter." "Innocent? You don't know me. I know you're ruthless in business. I know you've destroyed companies and ruined lives for profit, but you've never killed anyone. Carter has. He killed my brother and made it look like suicide. I know. I had it investigated. Your brother worked for him." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Investigations, of course. Michael wasn't just an employee. He was his conscience in numbers. He saw where every cent went, and when he understood Carter was using the funds to finance drug trafficking and prostitution, he tried to stop everything, and Carter had him murdered. And you entered his world to get revenge? I entered his world to find the evidence my brother couldn't deliver. I've spent 8 months serving drinks to criminals, listening to conversations, photographing documents. 2 weeks ago, I discovered the plan to kill you. I heard Carter personally order your glass to be poisoned the next time you came to the bar." Daniel felt a cold chill. "Why did you warn me? You could have let me die. One less of your precious, ruthless businessmen." Sarah looked him directly in the eyes. "Because if I let them kill you, Carter would have won again. He would have made another man disappear and remained unpunished. But if you lived, if you knew who tried to kill you, maybe you'd do what my brother couldn't do. Destroy him." Daniel looked at her in silence for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised both of them. "Help me find the evidence, and I'll help you get justice for your brother." They worked together for 3 weeks, an improbable alliance. The ruthless millionaire and the vengeful waitress. Daniel made his resources available. Private investigators, lawyers, computer hackers. Sarah made her access available. She still worked at the bar. She still served drinks to Carter and his men. She still heard conversations she shouldn't hear. They met every night at 3 a.m. in the abandoned warehouse. Little by little, piece by piece, they reconstructed Carter's criminal empire. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell companies in Luxembourg, bought politicians, threatened witnesses. And at the center of it all, drug trafficking disguised as legal real estate investments. But while they worked together, something else began to happen. Daniel began to see Sarah not as a tool for his revenge, but as a person. A brave woman who had risked everything for justice. Are you enjoying this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video. Who had lost everything and still fought. And Sarah began to see Daniel not as the cold symbol of ruthless wealth, but as a man who had built his empire from nothing, orphaned at 14 who had fought for every cent. One night, after hours examining financial documents, Sarah suddenly asked, "Why are you doing this?" "Not just for revenge. Carter tried to kill you, but you already won. You have more money, more power. You could simply have him arrested with one phone call to your political contacts." Daniel looked through the broken window toward the city lights. "My father was a construction worker. He died in a workplace accident when I was 14, because his boss had cut corners on safety to increase profits. Nobody paid, nobody was punished. The company made the evidence disappear, bought the witnesses, and I swore that someday I'd be so powerful that nobody could get away with it. Never again." He turned toward Sarah. "I built my empire to have the power to stop men like that. And Carter is the same. A man who believes money makes him untouchable. I want to prove he's wrong." Sarah looked at him with different eyes. "So you're not just the ruthless bastard everyone thinks?" "Oh, I absolutely am. But I'm a ruthless bastard with a code." She smiled for the first time in weeks. A real smile, luminous, that lit up her tired face. Daniel felt something move in his chest. Something he hadn't felt in years, maybe never. That night, while organizing documents their hands touched by chance, both stopped. The air between them became electric. Sarah raised her gaze. and Daniel realized he was dangerously close. He could see the golden reflections in her dark eyes. He could smell the light scent of her shampoo. "This is stupid," Sarah whispered. "We're from completely different worlds." "I know," Daniel responded. "And when all this is over, we'll go back to our lives. I know. And it would never work. I know." He kissed her anyway. And she kissed him back. And for a moment, in that cold warehouse, surrounded by evidence of crimes and revenge, two people who should never have met found something neither of them was looking for, a connection that went beyond logic and reason. The turning point came 2 weeks later. Sarah overheard Carter on the phone in his private office above the bar. He was organizing a crucial meeting, the delivery of $5 million in dirty cash that had to be transferred through one of his shell companies. The meeting would take place at a warehouse in the port of Newark. He, his accountants, and the physical evidence would be present. The money, the documents, everything. It was the perfect opportunity. If they managed to document that meeting, they would have irrefutable proof. Daniel immediately called Marcus Thompson and a team of private investigators. The plan was simple: infiltrate the warehouse before the meeting, hide micro cameras and microphones, record everything, then deliver the evidence to the IRS. The night of the operation, Daniel insisted on going personally. Sarah insisted on coming with him. "It's for my brother. I have to be there." They arrived at the port at 2 a.m. The warehouse was exactly where Sarah had said. Marcus and his team had already placed the cameras. Now they just had to wait hidden and let Carter incriminate himself. At 3 a.m., cars began to arrive. Carter got out of the first one, followed by 4 men. They carried suitcases, presumably containing the money. They entered the warehouse. The hidden cameras captured everything. The faces, the suitcases open full, of cash, the documents passing from hand to hand, the explicit conversations about money laundering. It was perfect. Too perfect. Suddenly, all the warehouse lights turned on at once. Carter smiled, looking directly toward the hidden camera in the corner. "I knew you'd come, Morrison. Or should I say, I knew she would bring you here." Daniel's blood froze. He knew. It was a trap. But how? He turned toward Sarah and saw something he never would have wanted to see. Guilt in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered in a broken voice. "I'm so sorry." Before Daniel could respond, Carter's men surrounded them. Marcus and his team were disarmed in seconds. They were trapped. Carter approached slowly, the smile of a predator who has captured his prey. "Sarah, darling, you did an excellent job, just as we had agreed." Daniel looked at Sarah with disbelief transforming into rage. "You were working for him this whole time?" "No, it's not what you think." Silence!" Carter shouted. Then he turned toward Daniel. "You see, Morrison, the problem with desperate people is they're easily manipulated. Little Sarah wanted so badly to avenge her brother. It was so easy to make her believe that you would be her knight in shining armor, that together you could destroy me." He moved even closer. "But what she didn't know is that I let her discover that information. I let her spy on me. I even orchestrated the poisoning attempt, knowing she would save you, all to bring you here, tonight, with evidence that you were illegally persecuting me." He took out a phone. "Now I'll call the police. They'll find you and your men here with illegal surveillance equipment stalking me. I have witnesses who will say you've threatened me for months. And you, my dear Morrison, will end up in prison while I take control of your company." Daniel felt panic rising. It was over. He had lost. Carter had won. He looked at Sarah and saw tears falling down her face. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear I didn't know. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." But Carter had made a mistake. A tiny mistake he hadn't considered. When he had orchestrated that perfect trap, he had underestimated one thing: the desperation of a woman who had already lost everything. While Carter was calling the police, Sarah did something nobody expected. She lunged at him and ripped the phone from his hands. "No, you won't do it. You won't destroy another life." Carter laughed. "Stupid girl. What do you think you can do?" Sarah turned toward Daniel with eyes full of crazy determination. "That night at the bar, when I warned you about the poison, it wasn't the whole truth. I wasn't just listening to conversations. I was recording everything. Every word Carter has said in the last 8 months." She pulled a small recording device from her bra. "And tonight, before coming here, I uploaded everything to the cloud. I sent the links to 3 different journalists, to the IRS and to the FBI, with instructions to publish everything if they don't receive confirmation from me before 5 a.m. The smile on Carter's face disappeared. "You're lying. Do you want to risk it? In an hour and a half, the whole world will know everything about you. Every crime, every person you've killed, including my brother. You have 2 choices. Let us all go, or destroy yourself trying to destroy us." The silence in the warehouse was absolute. Carter looked at Sarah, then at Daniel, then at his men. He was calculating, weighing options. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed, a deep, genuine laugh, full of bitter admiration. "Congratulations, girl. You played better than I thought." He turned toward his men. "Let them go." "Sir?" said one of them, confused. "Did you hear me? Let them go. It's over. I lost." As Daniel, Sarah, and Marcus's team left the warehouse, Carter shouted behind them, "But don't think this is over, Morrison. I can still—" "It's over," Sarah interrupted, turning around. "Because even if I don't publish those recordings tonight, I have them. And if anything happens to us, to any of us, those recordings will be made public automatically. You're in Checkmate." Carter stood immobile, watching them walk away into the night. For the first time in his life, James Carter had completely lost. 2 months later, James Carter was arrested. The evidence Sarah had compiled was overwhelming. Money laundering, extortion, corruption, and the murder of Michael Collins. The sentence was 40 years in prison without possibility of parole. Sarah was present in court the day of sentencing. When the judge struck the gavel, she closed her eyes and whispered toward the sky, "I did it, Michael. I did it." After the trial, Daniel found her sitting on the courthouse steps, face turned toward the sun. He sat beside her in silence for a long moment. "What will you do now?" he asked. "I don't know. For so long my life was only revenge. Now that it's over, I don't know who I am without it. You could find out. How?" Daniel smiled. "I have a job proposal for you. Morrison Holdings needs a new head of internal investigations. Someone who's not afraid to dig, who doesn't stop for anyone, who seeks the truth at any cost. I only know one person with those qualifications." Sarah looked at him surprised. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a future. If you want it." She hesitated, then smiled. "With a decent salary, I hope. No more waitress wages. Double what you expect, plus bonuses, plus an office with a view." "I accept." They stood up together. As they walked away from the courthouse, their hands touched again, like that night in the warehouse. This time Daniel took her hand and held it. "And Sarah didn't pull away. You know," she said. "You were still right about one thing." "What?" "We're from completely different worlds, and it probably will never work." "Probably not. But we can try anyway." Daniel stopped, turned toward her, and said something he hadn't said in years. "Yes, we can try." He kissed her again there on the courthouse steps, under the New York sun, while people passed indifferently around them. 2 people who shouldn't have met, who were united by revenge and poison, who found something unexpected in the darkest place. Hope. 3 years later, Daniel Morrison and Sarah Collins married in a small private ceremony. She became head of the Morrison Charitable Foundation, dedicated to helping families of victims of corporate crimes. He continued managing his empire, but with a new conscience. Power wasn't just for making money, but for doing justice. And every year on the anniversary of Michael Collins' death, they left a bouquet of flowers on his grave with a note that always said the same thing. Thank you for having such a brave sister. She saved more lives than you can imagine, including mine. Give it a like if you believe justice is worth more than revenge. Comment if you would also have had the courage to save someone you don't know. Share this story to remember that sometimes the most improbable people can become our saviors. Subscribe for more stories that prove love can be born even in the darkest situations. Sometimes life puts impossible choices before us. We can stay safe and let injustice win, or we can risk everything to do the right thing. Sarah chose to risk. And in that choice, she found not only justice for her brother, but also a love she didn't know she was looking for. Because the best stories aren't the ones we plan, but the ones that happen to us when we have the courage to act despite fear. And Daniel learned that true power isn't having money, but using it to protect those who can't protect themselves. Two wounded souls who found each other in the darkness and chose to walk together toward the light.